Okay, guys, here we go. I'm not entirely sure where we left off. I think we were here. I know we talked about some of these basic taste sensations. So if I'm right, we did salty, sweet, sour, bitter, and we all kind of know what that stuff is. But it's like salty is elicited by salts. Well, duh. But like sodium chloride is the saltiest salt. And we talked about how the sodium's what actually sets it off, and sweet's the carbs, and sour is like acids, especially. Bitter, we did like plant alkaloids, so you probably have caffeine written down there for an example. And then I think on one class on umami, we wrote something down, and one we didn't. And depending on which one you were in, remember umami, it comes from a Japanese word that kind of meant like delicious, and we checked out pictures of all sorts of delicious foods. But one thing that really sets it off is there's a couple things, but just one to write down for an example is an amino acid called glutamate. Glutamate. So right there by umami, right? Glutamate. Hey, and don't forget, guys, you can pause this video whenever you want. So if stuff's too fast or whatever, just hit the pause button and write it down. But here's something in parentheses. MSG. G. You guys know monosodium glutamate, like in food stuff. All right. Okay, it's fatty. We're gonna leave fatty open. It's the current consensus, I think, is that it's not actually a basic flavor, or taste, but it probably does contribute to the taste of food, maybe by its texture more than by the actual chemical sense. So we're just going to leave that open. So, but here's kind of the texture thing. So, as much of what we attribute to taste isn't really taste. So, maybe flavor is a better word. So we just talked about how like the fat might influence kind of how it feels in the mouth, and just kind of how food feels. The touch component here. So I'm going to paste in. Oh, wrong dang thing. Oh, I'll just type it. Texture. All right. It's just a component of touch, but yeah, how stuff feels influences how we perceive the flavor. Like I don't like tapioca chunks or like asparagus strings or like wet bread. Yeah. But here's another component that's also kind of a touch thing, really more than it's a. Let's try cut and paste again here. Cut and paste. Temperature. Yeah, it worked. Wherever you want to write it down here. Temperature has a big impact on how we perceive flavor too. Like hot coffee good, cold coffee not so good. Unless you're one of those people that like cold coffee. You're a weirdo. All right. Here is one more thing. This is probably the biggest one of all here. Maybe ironically, so I'm gonna put it in caps. Smell. Smell has a huge impact on how we perceive the flavor of food. It's maybe more important than taste is for flavor. If you don't believe me, hold your nose and try eating some even if you get a chunk of apple and a chunk of onion. The onion's got a strong smell, so if you can smell it, you can tell them a mile apart. But if you close your nose off totally, it's pretty hard to tell the difference between a chunk of apple and a chunk of onion. It's something you can try at home if you got some apple and onion chunks. All right, so I think that's all we need to do there. Let's go ahead and go on. All right, hey, so speaking of smell, fancy word for smell. If you guys don't remember this from chapter 11, then 1, shame on you, and 2, write down this, olfaction. All right, and then if you guys remember for taste, we had all those little taste buds. There's not like a bunch of little taste buds or smell buds. There's a larger tissue that's in the roof of our nasal cavity called the olfactory epithelium. Here, just read it. So it's located in the roof of the nasal cavity. If you guys remember the ethmoid bone, but it's way back there. So here it says about eye level. Here's some other stuff I'll show you guys a picture, but it says the olfactory bulbs are wired into the olfactory epithelium. And one thing to fix, there are 3 cell types here. We're only going to worry about 2. So if you guys want to, where it says 3 cell types right there, cross off the 3 and just put in 2, and then there they are. And another thing, check this out. No, noxious smells activate the trigeminal nerve. So the olfactory nerve carries our smell stuff, but I don't remember when we did the cranial nerve lab, like you couldn't do like ammonia or something like that because it actually sets off the trigeminal. So does like formaldehyde and stuff like that. But All right. Anyway, uh, two that we're doing cell types here. We got the olfactory receptor cells and the basal cells. And here comes a picture. Hold on just a second. Guys, what kind of stinks right now? Oh, hold on a minute. What kind of stinks right now is I don't have my book. It's up in my office, and I couldn't get to it today. I'll have it later on, hopefully. But somewhere in y'all's book is a picture that pretty much looks like this. Go find it. Go find it. Go find it. Go find it. And if you do, here you'll see, here's our cell types. Here's the olfactory epithelium. So in one, you can see where it's at. Like there's the ethmoid bone right there. You can see all those little fibers. That's all the first cranial nerve. And there's where your olfactory epithelium is. And then over here, we're zooming in on it. These guys right here, what's it say here? Olfactory sensory neuron. So that's an olfactory receptor cell. No, he's a bipolar neuron. He's got a big like dendrite process with a bunch of little hairy guys there. And he's got this axon that goes up into the olfactory bulb, and then makes a synapse right there, and then that's going to go in and become the go to the smell parts of the brain. What else was I going to say? Oh, yeah, look down here. Basal cells. We're going to mention these guys. They're little blue guys on my picture. I don't know what color they're going to be in y'all's, but they regenerate the olfactory epithelium. Okay. So let's get that back out of the way. Let's just close that off. Okay, so we got two cell types here, olfactory receptor cells and the basal cells. So what we're going to write here, wait, I got to fix something over here on the side. These guys, olfactory receptor cells, they are the chemoreceptors right there. And one more thing, these guys, like I said, these guys are bipolar neurons. Add that on there too. So you guys saw they had two processes, one dendrite and one axon. The ones you guys all drew successfully on test one, pretty much. Remember, those guys are multipolar neurons. They have many ends, a bunch of dendrites and a single axon. In the last chapter, we did unipolars, which was just a single process. All right, basal cells down here. These guys, remember I said they regenerate the olfactory epithelium, and that's what I'm going to cut and paste in here. There we go. Regenerate olfactory epithelium. This is one place where you get, there's another place in the brain too, but this is one place where you get continual regeneration of those of neurons. You get neurons made all the time. They're one of the kind of rules of thumb. It's more of a rule of thumb, but was that you don't produce new neurons, but here you do continuously. Remember in the 90s they found out that's not true necessarily in a few other places too, but here definitely not true. All right, going here to anosmia. Anosmia is loss of sense of smell. Anosmia literally means like no smell. All right, so loss of sense of smell. And then go over here. Here, I'm just going to type this in. There are a couple things that could do it. You could have damage to the first cranial nerve, to the olfactory nerve. Cranial nerve 1. One. I have an uncle that had anosmia from damage to the cranial nerve 1. He had some type of nasal surgery, and it kind of cut the nerve fibers there. I think it was sinus surgery, and they just must have scarred or something and just never reconnected. No, another guy who was in a motorcycle wreck, no helmet, hit his head, and that did it too. But it also be, I'm not exactly sure how to phrase this, but zinc abnormalities. See, and the elemental symbol for zinc, abnormalities. For some reason, we got to have, I'm not sure exactly how it works, to be honest, but we got to have zinc to use that olfactory epithelium for those bipolar cells to work properly. And if they get out of whack, then it can mess it up. Hey, I don't know if you guys remember, see if I can find it real quick. Oh, that's something I'm going to show you all later. Several years ago, there's this stuff called Zicam. It's still a brand name that's out there, but let's see if I can find it. They used to have these things. Yeah, there's some of the new stuff. Hold on a minute. Here. These. Oh, that has a bad word on it. Let's go here. These things were. Here it says. Look, check it out. Cold remedy swabs. Zinc gluconicum. I'm not sure what that is, but anyway, it's got zinc in it. So you take this and stick it up your nose, and people were having issues. So one thing that was going on is the zinc on there was kind of screwing up the olfactory nerve. They were having issues. Anyway, I don't think you can buy that anymore. I think it got pulled off the shelf. You guys can go Google it if interested. All right, let's go back to here. Oh, well, here, I guess this is kind of repetitive. Cranial nerve for smell. We already did it. Done. All right, moving on. The sixth sense in humans doesn't involve seeing dead people. So this is the vomeronasal organ. The vomeronasal organ is a chemosensory organ. So I'm going to cut and paste that in here. Hold on a second. Cut. So you guys are over here. Chemosensory organ. There you go. In other animals, it's definitely an important like a pheromone detecting structure, and in us, they're still kind of fighting over if it is or not. So here I'm gonna paste in. You guys just write it. Pheromones with a question mark. Pheromones are, you've heard of hormones before. Hormones, something that your body produces that influences your own physiology. You know, like you make insulin and it influences your blood sugar. Pheromone, something that an organism makes that influences another organism, usually of the same species. And you guys, that's all I got to write down. I just want to show you something that you guys will kind of be familiar with. This is the Wikipedia page on the vomeronasal organ, the VNO. It's talking about other animals and stuff, but here's a snake. If you guys see the snake, there's his VNO. Ours opens up in the floor of our nasal cavity, and theirs opens up in the roof of their mouth. It's in pretty much the same spot, but one thing here, placement, it's also called the Jacob's absorgan. It's another name for it, but when snakes are like flicking their tongue out, one thing they do is they pick up chemicals with that, pheromones, and they stick their tongue on that up on that VNO. So that, you know, snake tongue flicking stuff is directly got to do with their VNO. It's important for like reproductive behaviors and other stuff too in animals, but us not so sure. So we're just gonna kind of leave it at that. All right, eyes and vision. Oops, dang, I went way too far. Eyes and vision. All right, not too much right here. We got eye accessories, eyelids, connective tissue plates. Okay, one thing, skeletal muscle by way of review. You guys remember the name of the skeletal muscle that goes around the eye? No? Yes? If you said orbicularis oculi, then good for you. And if you didn't, then write that down. I'll give you a second. All right, moving on. All right, you've also got some modified sebaceous glands in this tissue. This is also just by way of review, guys. I'm not going to write anything here. I'll let you do it if you want to. Sebaceous glands are oil glands. If that didn't pop in your head, write that down. Oil glands. Sebum's of oil. All right, we got sty, inflamed sweat gland at the base of the eyelash. We're not going to add anything there. Go ahead and move on. We got the lacrimal glands and associated. Okay, so here, one thing to write here. The lacrimal glands produce lacrimal fluid, which is most commonly called, that's tears, guys. So right anywhere in here, write tears. Tears. But the location of the lacrimal glands is down here. It says superior laterally. Here's what you want to write down here. Hold on a minute. Cut and paste. Superior lateral to eye in orbit. So superior lateral to eye in orbit. And when you guys are writing that, I'm going to bring you up a picture. Oh wait, here. I'll just hold on that thought, and we'll hit this, and then I'll show you the picture. All right. So the superior lateral to eye in the orbit, and then they make the tears, and then never mind. I'll show you the picture now. I think it's easier to understand it with a picture. There you go. So there's an eye, so you can make it a little bigger, and it doesn't really help. All right, but anyway, so here's the eye. There's the tear gland. If you feel in the orbit in the eye hole right there. Oh, I'm almost out of time, so we're gonna pause the video right here, and we'll go on with this picture in part 2.